We are learning more now about the reality that in the craziness of last week, Iran shot down a passenger airplane, killing everybody on board. This was a Boeing 737 leaving Iran for Kiev, a Ukrainian airline. The evidence was growing and growing, even though Iranian officials were denying it. It became undeniable. And over the weekend, the officials in Iran, for the first time, admitted that, yes, they shot down a Ukrainian jet airplane, killing the 176 people that were on the plane. This does a few things aside from being an unspeakable tragedy, including seriously hurting the credibility of those same Iranian officials who were insisting day after day last week that they had nothing to do with it when it was increasingly clear that they did. Numerous questions about the airplane being shot down. One, why wasn't Iran's airport closed and airspace shut down during last week's hostilities and the missile launches? We don't have an answer there. The Associated Press reports that General Amir Ali Hajizadeh, the head of the guards, the Iranian Guards Aerospace Division, says his unit accepts full responsibility for the shootdown. There was an address broadcast by state television where he said when he learned the plane had been taken down, quote, "I wished I was dead." He said that the airline's pilot and crew did nothing wrong, that an officer made the bad decision to open fire on the plane after mistaking it for a cruise missile. The Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah, expressed his deep sympathy to the families of the victims, said that the armed forces should, quote, "pursue probable shortcomings and guilt in the painful incident." But the Iranian people are furious, as they should be. Very quickly, protests against the establishment Islamic theocracy of Iran have broken out in Tehran. Of course, it was not just Iranians who died on that plane. It's not any better or worse, depending on who dies, but it was 82 Iranians, 57 Canadians, 11 Ukrainians, and many others. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been very involved in publicly speaking about this, and so many Canadians were on that plane. Now, there's a conversation happening about, is this partially Donald Trump's fault? And the reasoning is, well, Iran shot down the plane while they were retaliating to the United States' assassination of Qasem Soleimani. So if Trump hadn't assassinated Soleimani, Iran wouldn't have been firing missiles and all of these people would now be alive. You know, in a strict, narrow scope, that is technically true. In other words, what caused Iran to be firing the missiles was that Trump ordered Soleimani killed. And you can argue that Iran retaliating was less optional than Trump deciding to go and assassinate Qasem Soleimani. In geopolitics, this is a pretty dubious way of thinking about things. Trump can then say, well, the only reason we killed Qasem Soleimani was because Obama, instead of going after Soleimani, signed a terrible Iran nuclear deal. Terrible according to Trump, by the way. And then we would say, no, 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 that didn't force you to assassinate Soleimani. And Trumpists can say, well, Iran didn't have to respond with the missiles that they did, or they should have been more competent. They should have better trained the people that were using the missiles. They should have fired them at different locations, from different locations. They should have cleared the airspace. So for me, this is not so much about trying to figure out what degree of blame does Trump have for the shooting down of the plane. Again, you could say, well, what about the Iranian Revolution that took place in the late 1970s? That really caused everything that happened in the last 40 years that led to Trump even wanting to assassinate Soleimani. It's not all the same, right? The Iranian Revolution as a general cause of today's status quo is not the same as Trump personally saying, let's kill Soleimani, which leads to Iran firing these missiles that take down a jet aircraft. But the point is, this type of accusation is rarely useful in figuring out what needs to happen next. It's used mostly to score political points for one side or for the other. If everything had been the same, but Iranian forces were better trained at distinguishing a passenger plane from something else, this wouldn't have happened. Not to mention that this regime has been lying about what happened as well. The head of Iran's aviation organization said that the plane definitely wasn't hit by a missile just days ago. And of course it was. And they continued to lie until they could lie no more. So Trump gets plenty of blame for many things he's done here. The assassination, ripping up the Iran nuclear deal for no reason without Iran having violated it. But to make the focus of the plane being shot down, as tragic and unnecessary as it was, To say that that was because of Trump's decision specifically is at minimum unproductive. I don't think it's the place where we should be focusing our energy. And now we have protests in Iran, and we will see what comes of them. That is where our energy should be focused. And the fact that Iranians, who are known to be increasingly progressive as a population, fighting back publicly protesting this Islamic theocracy that is in place in Iran, that is what we should be focusing on. Do you feel like you just don't have enough time to become as intellectually well-rounded as you would like to be, that there are just not enough hours in your week for you to read all of the books that you want to read? One of our sponsors is called Blinkist, and it's an app that lets you consume an entire nonfiction book in 15 minutes. It's only about $8 a month, but you can try it for free for a week and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. What Blinkist does is take thousands of popular nonfiction books and condense them into either text or audio that you can read or listen to in just 15 minutes. And what you get is all of the most important ideas and information from the book. Imagine being able to listen to an entire nonfiction book in the amount of time it takes you to drive or walk home from work. I just finished listening to The Way We Eat Now by B. Wilson, whose work I've recommended to you before. Super interesting look at how the global food system works and impacts the way that we live. Blinkist has totally transformed how I consume information. I love it. Of course, I read a book in its entirety when I can, but there are simply just so many books that I want to read and would not have the time for if it weren't for Blinkist. They have books on politics, economics, philosophy, science, you name it. You can try it out yourself, totally free for a week, and get 25% off if you decide to subscribe just by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video. Like the rest of us, I bet you're going into 2020 thinking about what you didn't get around to in 2019 and your goals for the new year. If you want to work towards being your best self in 2020, understand more about the world around you, and make sure that your time is well spent, then Blinkist is for you.